All right, I have 4 o'clock, and I know it's really nice to see some of our fellow colleagues that we haven't seen in a while. That's really nice. I did want to get started because we are streaming this live as well too. So wanted to make sure that we started on time for the benefit of the people watching at home, and I welcome them. So again, this is our second retiree town hall meeting. We apologize that we didn't have power last week, so due to the snowstorm, so we had to reschedule. So I appreciate your patience with that. I just want to give a quick overview. Again, let me introduce myself first. I am a little bit of a new face to the district. My name is Tom Burkhart. I'm the superintendent of schools here at Chenango Forks. Formerly, I was the high school principal at Chenango School District right next door, just over the border. So work through this, just a little bit of history of me in this situation is actually a fun fact. I was the president of the administrators union at Chenango Schools when they went through this transition about 4 or 5 years ago. So I was on the other side of the table for this. So we went through that piece as well in that transition. So just a quick overview of what we want to accomplish today with this town hall is the first thing is I want to kind of reiterate and try to just talk through our purpose of what we're doing here today, and just to make sure that we can put some numbers and some facts around our need for this transition to make this, really to make this a sustainable model that we can move forward with to provide great health insurance coverage for all of our employees for years to come. And also the second piece, we're going to turn things over to hopefully a familiar face for you, Jack McGowan and Brown, and he's going to talk through some of the comparisons and the plans that we're offering, because we do have some choices in place for you. And then at the end, what I wanted to do is I'll come back on and I'm going to talk through what that transition will look like and the details around that transition. And if you have questions about that, certainly we'd be happy to answer them for you. So just as far as the district's decisions and the movements, I just kind of want to reiterate, when Jack comes on, he's the insurance guy, so he's talking for Brown. He won't be able to answer those pieces for you, but he can talk about if you have questions about insurances and coverages, he's definitely the guy to talk to. So we'll go from there. Okay, so the biggest questions as I've gone through this process in my previous position and then through this position again is, those biggest questions that are hanging out there are, why does the district want to change insurance plans for our retirees when they have great insurance? And then and the other piece is, how is it going to impact our coverage? Obviously, I was an educator and taught second grade for 7 years. I taught middle school English for another 5 or 6 years. My wife is an educator. I'll retire under her insurance through Maine Enrollment, and when I turn 65, God willing, I'll be on an Advantage plan myself. So with that being said, as we go through this process, I know that I fully am aware that you don't get rich going into education, and that's kind of the promise has always been, you won't get rich with your salaries, but you will always have, working for a school district, you're always going to have, we're going to take care of you with your health insurance, and we're going to take care of you in your pension, your retirement. So we want to definitely uphold those promises. So here's our challenge right now. When I started back in 1999, family health care plan cost about $6,200, about $6,500, if I remember it correctly. Right now, as we transition to the next school year, a family health plan is going to cost for each employee $29,927. For the PPO, those participants that chose the PPO version, it'll be $27,000. The full cost of an individual insurance will be $11,972. So you can see the costs are just becoming out of control, and I mentioned the word sustainable before, and that's what we're talking about. We're getting to a point where the cost is escalating at such a rate that very quickly, as we move into insurance and we are looking at our performance next year, we're presenting for the year after next year to max out again, and that will bring our family health care insurance if we don't do something about it, up to about $34,000 a year. So, so looking at those projections, it's imperative that we work now to create a sustainable model to keep great insurance coverage in place for all of our employees. So as you may or may not be aware, this might be old news for many of you, but Medicare, as you turn 65, we're focusing on our retirees that are 65 and over, because once you hit 65, Medicare kicks in and it covers 80% of that insurance. So the big piece is that although Medicare is covering 80% of the insurance, the school district and those of you that are paying for a part of your premium or a percentage of your premium, we're still paying on that whole 100%, even though 80% of it is not being utilized. So that's a huge problem for us. So the area that we're looking at is, and I think this is kind of where one of the confusions come in, is when you look at an Advantage plan. If you Google it, if you get on and look on Google, you're going to pull up an Advantage plan, something that's offered to the public and something that you can buy on your own as an individual. And you're going to get some information about that. This is, I want to clarify, it's very, very different. What we've done is through the consortium, we have looked at your present Medicare plan, and they have created this plan with Excelis, this new product, because we've listened to our retirees, we've had meetings with them as we went through this process previously, and we talked about, that was one of the things that really, they didn't want to change, they like Excelis, they didn't want to change from Excelis. So we were able to get an option with Excelis where they created a product that works with your current Medicare coverage and enhances everything that's not covered by that Medicare plan. So it's meant to emphasize and focus on just what's not covered by Medicare. But it's a cheaper product because we're not paying for that 80% that is covered by Medicare. So that being said, I know that the type is pretty small up there, but in this situation, by going to this type of plan, an Advantage plan with Excelis, that's focused on that 20% and also some other features, and we're able to add some other things on for our retirees, which I'll get into in a minute, and I know Jack is going to cover in depth. And a family plan then drops from $29,000 to $7,000 in cost because it's focused on covering that 20% or what's not covered by Medicare. And then an individual plan drops to $3,000 total cost. So the biggest thing is, I kind of use the term, we just no longer be double paying for insurance. There's a portion of insurance that we can't use. And that's where the savings comes from. So, and another reason why we should change is, I don't know if this impacts anybody in this room, but I've had conversations with people, with our retirees that are, I know the term in CF is the pre-92s and the post-92s, right? So if we have any of our post-92s and they're depending on what insurance they're presently on, they're paying a percentage of their premium. So, and that's everybody that's retiring that's hitting 65 from this point on. So for the teachers in the CFTA, presently we have 41 that are on a family plan and 13 that are on individual plans that are paying a premium for insurance. So as the costs go up, their rates go up as well. So they're paying out of pocket for that insurance. So it's imperative that we make a change for their benefit as well because of the money that they're paying out of pocket. So I put up here an average annual savings for retiree. People are at different rates depending on when they retired and what the contract was at that time. So I did an average. The average retiree savings that's on a family plan, they would save $3,582 a year. And someone with an individual plan would still save about $834. The total savings for next year, if we make this move for retirees out of pocket, will be over $177,000 for those who have to pay. So then, of course, the question is, what about those that don't have to pay? Why should we move? So, and that kind of moves into how is this going to impact our coverage? So with the optimized Advantage plan that we're looking at moving to in this situation, this product that is specially built for people within this consortium. This is not, again, I'm going to say this again because I know this is where a lot of confusion comes in. This is not an Advantage plan that you can buy in the public market. So there are a number of products that are out there. So this is specifically built to work around our Medicare. We have focused on the back end. We know that you're not paying a premium up front, but we can also use some of that, utilize some of that savings to create other benefits for the retiree. And some of those things are $400 maximum prescription expense. So there are some things that you may run into if you have special medical conditions that aren't covered currently with your prescription payout, or if you're just getting a number of different prescriptions and you're paying constantly that copay. There is no maximum for your insurance. This would cap that at $400 a year. So you may not utilize that now, but if you are using some different types of meds or really expensive tier 1, right, would be the more expensive tier 2, 3, 4, tier 2, 3, 4 type of medications that are very expensive where the copay is much higher. This would definitely save you some money. I'm sorry, currently the max is $5,900. There's also 100% of vision and hearing exams are now covered. So if as we move on, I know my wife says I need a hearing exam every week. So when we go through that, those exams would be when I hit 65, thankfully that'll be covered for me. And also there's another piece in here too that Jack will get into. There's also hearing aid allowances, which is very nice too. So there's a piece in there that when he looks at when he pulls up the charts and starts going through the differences, where presently in our area about $3,500 for a hearing aid, and that would be fully out of pocket expense into your current insurance with the Advantage plan. They would give you, I think you pay what? How much would it be? $699 total is the most you can pay, and the rest is covered by the new insurance. So, and then there's also other programs like gym membership programs, reimbursements for those types of things. So Silver Sneakers and another, what is that? Silver and Fit, sorry. Yes, so Silver and Fit. I'm taking all your thunder. I apologize. Jack's getting mad at me because I'm taking all of this good news. But also the other biggest thing, before I formally introduce that too, is that there's a big piece here with the fact that now that we're working ground to ground, this local agency, CF graduates that are working here, but I always joke with them and say, well, you have to give us a better product. They have to be happy because you're the ones that are going to get yelled at in the grocery store if you don't do a good job, right? So, and they know you, so they're comfortable with you. They're going to come up to you. So we've worked really hard to make sure that this would be a better benefit for our retirees. But the nice thing about that is by having this in place, they are our insurance agents. They don't work for the insurance companies. They don't work for the doctors. They work for us. So when you have any questions, and they're going to reiterate that too, I've suggested to a lot of our retirees have taken advantage of that opportunity to call them. And they have since they're our agents, they have all your medical, your claims and your history. So they can sit down with you and go through each and all of your claims and walk through and show you where those benefits lie. So we want to make sure that you take advantage of them, and they can also advocate for you too. If you have a question or you have a certain situation that comes up, they're the people to call. They have a call center, and they can help you with any of those issues, even if you're out of town. So I think that's a big piece for them. One other thing I just wanted to touch on and make sure that I got out there too is even prior to the switch, we had Jack can talk a little bit more to this too, but I just wanted to put this graphic up there for him to kind of get started off of. Is they did a disruption report, which is a third party does this, right? Yeah. So I can talk to it. Yeah. So there's a disruption report that's done. I'm going to let Jack actually talk to that because he does it. But the biggest thing is, presently now, without you calling any doctors or talking to anybody, already looking at your past history, your past usage with your insurance, 98% of everything is covered. And we're very confident because of the history and the data that we have from the other schools that have made this move within the consortium already. There's thousands of educators, people that have worked in education that have shifted over. And looking at that data, we haven't had any issues where things are not being covered. So, and usually if there is a little hiccup with a phone call, like those 2%, usually a phone call or a conversation with the doctor and not on your end. I'm actually around, but not even on my end. And they can usually clear those things up. So that being said, I'm going to turn things over to Jack now to talk a little bit about the differences between the different plans, the advantages that they have in place for them. And then I'll be back on to talk to you about the transition process and answer any questions that you might have. Okay? Turn it over to Jack. Thank you. What?
Let's do the 4-pager first, the 3 benefit plans.
Yeah, sure.
The comparison chart. So thank you, everybody. It's nice to see so many familiar faces. For those that don't know me, I'm Jack McGowan, graduated from CF in 1999. Still live in the district and have a daughter over in 6th grade. I work for Brown & Brown Insurance. I work closely with Dave Sebastianelli, could not be here, he's sick tonight. And my other teammate, Cheryl Clary. Our job, as Tom mentioned, is to represent everyone here in this room in Chenango Forks on health insurance. That's all we do. We work with about 30 different schools in the area doing just this, helping retirees evaluate and move to Medicare Advantage plans. We're also here for you once we implement the plan in July to support you moving forward. So today, we're going to talk about the 2 different plans that retirees have to choose from. You currently have a Humana plan in place. It's been in place for about a year. And then we're going to talk about a new plan through Excelis. The consortium that Chenango Forks is part of today with your active medical plan came to us, Brown & Brown, about a year ago and asked us to develop a Medicare Advantage product for the consortium in all of its districts. And so that's the Excelis plan we're going to talk about today. We're going to compare that to the Humana plan and the current active Excelis plan. I'll let everybody get a sheet. I know it's been hard to read up here. Okay. Okay, I'm going to start with a 1-pager that everybody has, the comparison sheet. So what we try to do here, since the Excelis Medicare plan and the Humana plan are so similar, 95% the same, we tried to highlight what the differences are between the 2 Medicare plans and your current Excelis plan. And so I'll start at the top left, you'll see we tried to color code it, good, better, best. Down the left-hand side, you'll see the plan benefits. Then you'll see your current, in blue, your current Excelis plan that you're on today. In the middle, you'll see the Excelis Medicare Advantage plan. And then to the far right, you'll see the Humana Advantage plan. And so I'll start on the left. First benefit is a deductible. So the current Excelis plan today has a $50 deductible per person. Under the 2 Advantage plans, there is no deductible. All medical services are covered at 100% under both Medicare Advantage plans. Second benefit is coinsurance. The current Excelis plan has coinsurance. So once you hit the $50 deductible, then the retiree pays 20% coinsurance up to that max out of pocket of $400, which is right below that. So you pay 50. And 20% to a max of $400. If you ever hit the $400, everything else is covered in full for the plan year. That's on the current plan today. Under both Advantage plans, Excelis and Humana, there is no deductible, there is no coinsurance, and there is no max out of pocket. Routine.
The medical services are covered.
So medical services under the Humana and Excelis plans are covered at 100%, $0 copays. Routine vision and hearing. Under the current Excelis plan today, there is no coverage. Under the Excelis plan and the Humana plan, you get the routine exam once a year at no cost. Tom mentioned the hearing aid benefit. There is none today under the commercial Excelis plan. Under the Excelis plan, it's a copay of $6.99 or $9.99, depending on the hearing aid. You pay that copay, that covers that hearing aid in full. Under the Humana plan, yes, sir.
Quick question. Well, when you say $6.99, or the hearing, that wall, hearing aid, the cost of the hearing aid?
It's the brand. So it's the more costly hearing aid are going to be the $9.99 copay versus $6.99.
Right.
Under Humana, it's a little bit different. It's an allowance. So it's a $600 allowance, not a copay. So you get that $600 and that would apply towards the hearing aid, which generally ranges $2 to $3 to $4 grand, depending on the brand or the quality.
So we're talking, if we had for $500 set of hearing aid, we had to cost us out of pocket $40. But, the BTE, it's going to cost us $1,000.
I think I heard you right. So if the hearing aid call it $2 grand,
$5.
$5 grand, under Excel, it's going to be $6.99 or $9.99. Under Humana, all you get is $600 towards that $5 grand. So you'd have to pay $4,400.
Versus $1,000.
That's right. You got it. What's the better benefit?
What's,
The Excelis.
yes.
It's a better benefit. Wellness. There is no formal wellness program today under your Excelis plan. Under the Excelis Advantage plan, they offer a program called Silver and Fit. It's $25 for the entire year, and it covers your gym membership in full. Lots of local gyms here locally that participate. Riverwalk, Planet Fitness. We do have a list online on the Chenango Forge website of participating providers. $25 for the year, it covers your membership. Under Humana, it's a very similar program. They call it something different. They call it Silver and Sneakers, but the program is free for the year, no cost to the retirees. There is a list. You got it. Question came up last time: is the new Lourdes facility in the mall participate with Humana or Excelis? If they do not, as of yet. Next benefit is pharmacy. So under the plan today, you pay copays of $2 or $10, depending on the tier of drug for a 30-day supply. That's the same way the Excelis and the Humana plan work, 2 or 10. Also under pharmacy, there is no prior auth or step therapy required for the current plan or for the Excelis Advantage plan. So if you're taking a medication, there's no step therapy or prior auth to continue taking that medication. Under the Humana plan, there is prior auth and step therapy. So it's a pretty common practice. Doctors do it every day on behalf of patients, where they get the prior auth and they go through a formal step therapy procedure. But that doesn't exist on the Excelis Medicare plan. It does exist on the Humana plan.
What's
Sure.
that there?
Step therapy is your doctor wanting you to try a certain medication before you go to maybe a really expensive medication.
So you could just go straight to the expensive medication and you cannot get it at all.
Under the Excelis plan, if you're taking a specialty med, that'll just move right over. Under the Humana plan, the doc may have to authorize that again. So it's just a phone call to your doctor saying you moved it to Humana plan, requires prior auth or step therapy, and it's something they fill out, submit to Humana, and to get it approved. Well, that's something we can help with on behalf of the retiree. We can work with your doctor to do that, but that guardrail does exist in the Humana. Pharmacy max out of pocket. So under the current plan, it's $5,900. I mean, that's a lot of copays, $210. But if you ever hit the $5,900, all pharmacy medication will be covered in full for the plan year. Under the Excelis Advantage plan, it's a $400 cap. So more likely, if you're taking several meds, they're $10 a month, and you ever hit the 400 cap, all pharmacy drugs are covered in full for the rest of the plan year. So 210, depending on tier, up to the 400 cap. Under Humana, there is no cap, so you just pay 2 or 10, depending on tier for the 30-day supply for the entire plan year.
Plan one, plan two.
Say that again, sir.
Plan one versus plan two. Or, so no, that's plan one or 3,000 plan two.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. So Plan 2 is another plan that's offered through Humana at the district. It's got the same benefits for medical services, but different pharmacy copays. I believe it's put in place for a different unit. There's only,
That's a different chart. That doesn't say 210.
it's 5/15/30. But there, from my recollection, there's about 2 people or 3 people on it. There's about 150 people on Plan 1 for Humana today.
It's not anybody on CMPA that I know. Yeah, that's the plan that doesn't apply to any retirees for the Chenango Forest Teaching Association. I think so. I believe.
Yes, support staff. And it's just a couple of people on that plan too, but 98% of the people are on Plan 1. Pharmacy mail order, 90-day supply. Today you pay 1 copay. Whether you get it in the mail or you go to the pharmacy, you pay 1 copay for a 90-day supply. The same thing goes for both the Excelis and the Humana Advantage plans. Yes, ma'am.
I asked this at the last meeting we had because, and I was told that if you bought it at the pharmacy, like CVS or whatever, you would only get a 30-day supply rather than a 90-day supply with Advantage.
Yep, you did, and I remember it, and so we went back to Excelis and clarified that you can pick up a 90-day script at CVS or any pharmacy for 1 copay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We did add that frequently asked questions too, right?
Yeah, so good call,
So
Tom.
from the first meeting, and I should have done this I meant to do this at the introduction. I wanted to go and show you on our website where you can get updates and our information, and also we have these meetings recorded, so you can visit and revisit any of the conversations that were had. But we also, from the suggestion from the retirees from the last meeting, I don't know what's going on. Can you explain that? We had a frequently asked questions page at the very top, the first document that you open will have frequently asked questions that you can then take a look at. Any questions that were asked during this time that we didn't have an immediate answer for, or just was a good question, we added it on there that we did answer so that other people, we thought it was something that other people would benefit from that answer. It's not just specific to an individual, so we added it to that page. So visit our website. Shameless plug.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Next benefit is the formulary. So that refers to drug tiers. So all 3 plans have a 2-tier formulary. I mentioned the copays are $2 for tier 1 and $10 for any other tier. Tier 2, 3, 4, 5, $10. Tier 1, generic, $2. Next benefit we wanted to call out was orthotics. Today, under your current plan, it's covered, well, it's subject to that deductible and co-insurance, but covered. Under the Excelis Medicare plan, it's covered, but it has to be for diabetics. That's the caveat there. Same thing for Humana. It's covered in full, but it has to be for diabetics. Another rider on the Humana plan that we've noted is depression stockings are included on the Humana plan. Acupuncture, a new benefit, not covered today, covered in full under both Excelis and Humana, up to 20 visits a year. Chiropractic care, covered today, subject to that deductible and co-insurance. Also covered under Excelis and Humana, or spinal manipulation. You'll see under the Excellus plan, non-Medicare or routine maintenance chiro, like your extremities is not covered. So it's routine maintenance, chiropractic care under Excellus. Under the Humana plan, it does cover non-Medicare type adjustments, extremities, things of that nature. There's a little difference there. Yes.
Like when it says, the non-Medicare routine maintenance for chiropractic, would that cover other things besides manipulation, like if you did the electric stim or?
It does cover some of that. We can take the specific benefits and find out for you exactly. If you want to talk with us afterwards, we can find out exactly.
Yeah, I'll probably call it later.
Perfect. Yep. Yeah, we'll just need to know those services and we can look them up right away. We're calling out international coverage. Today you have the blue card anywhere you go in the world. Under both Medicare Advantage plans, you still have coverage at 100% urgent and emergent worldwide. So if you're overseas traveling, something happens and it's emergency or urgent, you're covered at 100%. But you can't go overseas and have a physical. It doesn't cover that type of stuff. It covers emergency or urgent only overseas. Sure.
Do you have something about that in mind? That was one of the- Exactly, probably.
So I think the question was, do we have a more detailed list of what's covered overseas?
Yeah, it's really- Change the word and change. They say, USA. Pretty much. Now, up to worldwide.
So all three plans cover emergent and urgent at 100%. I think the blue card is different in that it may cover certain procedures outside of the country. I'm not aware of any. We don't see any claims.
Last time it said same.
On the current plan,
Yes.
so we can check on that for you.
Analysis.
So I think the question is, what's the difference internationally with your current plan versus the Advantage plans? And so all three plans cover emergent and urgent, but the current Excellus plan may have a different coverage internationally. We can check on that.
Yeah,
Yes.
they may have just covered if you wanted routine services out of the area internationally, an eye exam, a physical, something like that, but we can verify that. That's
I remember
really the
A
difference.
number of years ago, when they had this locally, is that, yeah, you go to Canada.
Right.
You get all cheap.
Right.
Well, the question was, at that point, was that covered by the present product?
So it's a good question. We'll get the answer and we'll put it on the FAQs onto the website so everybody can see it.
So on that topic, if the retirees, the Board of Education, they had a board resolution, something about a network. If you travel out of the country, they purchase a network insurance plan for that, because of the lack of. I don't know if that's something.
Well, yeah, we can look into that. I would talk to our insurance or.
Yep, there are plans out there that can give retirees coverage by traveling internationally.
But if it is, for their retirees.
Okay, I'm not familiar with Ithaca, but I know it doesn't exist. Last couple benefits we have listed here is the network. Today, you guys are using the Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield commercial network, world or nationwide coverage. Under the Excellus Medicare plan, it is the Medicare Blue PPO network, the Excellus Medicare Blue PPO network, nationwide, anywhere in the country that accepts Excellus Blue PPO, you're in network. And then Humana has their own network. The Humana network, again, nationwide, anywhere you can be here, Florida, California, receiving network benefits. And at the very bottom, I know Tom mentioned it, this slide are the monthly rates. That's not what everyone here pays. You either pay nothing or a percentage of those monthly rates. Or you can see the current Excellus plan, and then the rates for the Excellus Medicare plan and the Humana Medicare plan, which are pretty close.
So these are the district.
That's the full cost. And then you, right, so yours would be whatever, we could tell you that if you call the district, but depending on when you retire, what contract you're under, if you have a participation, if you have a rate that you have to participate with and pay your share of, that it would be, that percentage would be taken out of that whole rate. So that's the full cost of that insurance per month. So you would run that percentage through that monthly cost.
It just would have been helpful to see that. That's
Yeah,
It's only two different things before now.
yeah, well, actually, it's quite different because depending on the different contracts, there is a little bit of a fluctuation as you go through different years. So, yeah, we would have, so that's why I had to use an average in that savings, because there were other retirees that pay a little bit different, negotiate a little bit different rate because the contracts were slightly different at that time. So after 92, they started paying a percentage, but then it's what it looked like, looking at the history, I've only been here 6 months. They looked like that percentage, I think, was negotiated off as time went on. So, but, right, yes,
There was actually a small percentage for pre-92s for family coverage.
yes.
And then after 92, there was that scale of number of years of service multiplied by a percentage. And now there's a straight percentage in the contract.
Yeah. So we have a chart of what everybody's contribution rate is and how much actually the dollar amount that you pay. So if you call the district, we check that, but I remember when I looked at it, the reference that to get the numbers that I needed for this, it's quite different when you look from employee to employee. Many of them are right at the same rate, you're correct, but there are also quite a few that are different. So it would be, I would just, to be sure, I'd rather you just call and we can tell you exactly what it is.
So we're doing the district.
Just call the district office and any one of us can help you there. So I can help you or our business official can help you. Thank you.
Also, that national network.
Sure, absolutely. So today, under the current Excellus plan, you're using the Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield network, national network. Anywhere in the country that accepts Excellus BCBS, you are in network. Under the Medicare Advantage plan Excellus, that network is called the Excellus Medicare Blue PPO network. Very similar to the network today. Tom mentioned the disruption report. What that is we took the last 12 months of claims from all retirees in this room, and we ran it through the Excellus Medicare network and the Humana Medicare network. There's about a 98% match. So all claims that were incurred by retirees in the last 12 months match these networks by about 98%. So we see very little disruption in the network. So Medicare Blue PPO is the national network for the Excellus Medicare Advantage plan anywhere in the country. And then under Humana, also a national network, which is called Humana. It's their network.
You can call us, we can help you look at the provider, or you can look on the Excellus or the website, but certainly give us a call.
It's a good point. This is our second retiree meeting. We've had dozens of calls from retirees, our team, and they've been very positive. We've been looking up providers, we've been looking up certain procedures, medicines, and the conversations have been really good. We're not finding lots of docs out of networks, especially with the Excellus plan. There's some nuances of Humana, maybe they don't accept Humana, But if they are willing to accept Medicare and bill Humana, then they would be considered in-network.
Or passive, other than Humana, is that the name or is that just the name they choose to use or?
I'm sorry, I missed.
We're passive at the Humana.
So passive, question was what's passive in your Humana? Humana offers a passive network. Now, all that means is in and out of network benefits are exactly the same. So it kind of goes with what I was just saying. If you find a provider that does not accept Humana, we'll call that provider on your behalf. And if they're willing to accept Medicare assignment and bill Humana, then that would be considered an in-network service. So in all likelihood, and this happens more oftentimes than not, maybe there's a provider that accepts Excellus Medicare or United Healthcare Medicare, but they don't have a contract with Excellus or with Humana. We'll call that provider. If they're already accepting Medicare reimbursement from other providers, more oftentimes than not, they're going to be willing to accept Humana because it's the same reimbursement. And so we can do that work on your behalf. But that's what passive means. It means that the in and out of network benefits are exactly the same.
Call that.
Sure.
Is that the same for Excellus if it's in and out of the network?
So with Excellus, it has in and out of network benefits. If you're in network, everything that I just talked about today applies. All medical services are covered at 100%. Pharmacy is 2 or 10. If you're out of network with Excellus, it's different benefits. It's 10% co-insurance. So if you get a bill for 100, you're responsible for $10.
So this is kind of hard to explain, but is it 10% of what Medicare would allow, or is it 10% of just any doctors being not governed by Medicare?
It's the first one. It does, and we did have that question, and it's
That's not the answer I got. That was not the answer I got when I called her. He said it was 10% of whatever the doctor charges.
okay. We'll get clarification for you, but I'm almost certain it's what Medicare allows. But we'll clear that up for you for sure. I know we're taking notes, and we're gonna post this to the Chenango website on the FAQs, and we'll clear that up for you. Sure.
We currently get some prescriptions from Rochester Specialty Pharmacy. I would like to keep getting it from there. Is that possible?
I know we're working on that one. I know we're working on that one for you.
I have a question that under, and that was brought up last time too. Under the Excellus Classic Blue, the co-insurance, that says 20% after deductible. Because most of us that we were talking about that once you reach Medicare and then pay your 50 deductible, we don't pay that 20%. We just don't have a copay. So, but it's still listed as a product at the last meeting.
Yeah, I know it was brought up at the last meeting. We went back to Excellus, pulled your contract and benefit summary, and that is how it reads. $50, the 20% co-insurance to the 400 max. You know, there's certain services that it only applies to. So, you know, if you're going to your doctor or you're going, you know, for lab work, x-rays, none of that applies toward the deductible or co-insurance, so you wouldn't see any costs. There's only certain services where the deductible and the co-insurance apply. I think I called a few out on here, like chiropractic, orthotics. That's when that deductible and co-insurance would come into play. So I think from the last meeting, someone was like, well, I've never paid this. It's because a lot of the services under the Classic Blue, it doesn't apply. There's only certain services where that deductible and co-insurance come into play.
What about your doctor who now knows, like, I don't hardly ever hear the word insurance. We get this and it just happens because they have original Medicare and they know what's coming. And it's simple, it's easy. My concern is the fees. The doctor now has to deal with this for-profit, one group bundle. How does that work? I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned that the doctor says, I have to check with your insurance company, I'll get back to you in a week. Whereas now it's so immediate and it's hardly ever hear the word insurance.
Yeah, so good question. Doctors today are very familiar with the Medicare Advantage plans. They bill them every single day. I can tell you from experience, Chenango Forks isn't the first to do this. There's dozens of other districts in the area that have already done it. Are using the local docs. I encourage you to reach out to your peers and ask them about it. There's several districts using Humana, Windsor, ME, Owego, JC, big districts. Several people using Excelis. Chenango Valley, 2 of their units. We're working on a teacher's unit. Oleana, Union, Endicott, they have about 600 retirees going on in the Excelis plan. Whitney Point, Afton, Unadilla Valley. There's a lot of districts that are already on these Medicare Advantage plans using local national docs, and they're very familiar with processing claims and billing the insurance companies.
I was gonna say, I can't speak specifically for the doctor that you might be dealing with, but I know in my discussions with retirees that we moved to this from different districts within the consortium, they haven't seen any disruption in that area. So they said it happens still exactly the same as it did before. They don't, they're not saying, we'll get back to you in a week. They say your prescription's waiting at CVS for you. So.
I really do understand that this plan is built around what we
Yeah.
had and
Yeah.
the consortium and everything like that. I know when you figure that advantage plan, it's not exactly the same. But you still, the insurance company is still the gatekeeper. That's what I'm concerned about. The for-profit company is still the gatekeeper.
But the thing is with this too, is with the ratings for Advantage plans, I don't know if we spoke to this last time, but the way that this is built is it's built to mirror the Medicare that you have right now and the Advantage, the insurance that you have right now. So service is a big deal to them. So if they don't achieve the customer ratings that they had before, then they don't get subsidized from the government the way that they can't provide that cost. They can't compete in the market. So it basically pushes them out of the market. So they have to do it the easiest and fastest way they can. They need to keep that 4 or 5 star rating in order to be able to do that. So it's in their best interest to make it as seamless as possible for you. And it's almost in a way because they have to compete now, and because of the model and the product that they have to keep the customer happy. It's not a we'd like to, it's we can't do business with this group of people because we're not going to be able to compete price wise. So that's one area where it's actually a benefit. Was I correct with other
Yeah,
things?
you're spot on. I mean, these companies are reimbursed based on quality, timeliness, service. And so, they take that seriously because that's how they get reimbursed. And so, we don't see any issues with that.
That's a nice thing with sellers too, right? It'll be one card. So you just use that one card. You don't have to think about that.
Just
It's
save the
one
other
card
card.
and that's all.
Save the other card in the same place as Medicare card, like you only use one card.
The question was around ID cards. Today, if you're on the Excelis plan, you have your Excelis card, you have your Medicare red, white, blue card. Under the Advantage plan, both Humana and Excelis, you get one ID card, and that encompasses everything. So you use that one ID card at the doctor office and at the pharmacy. And then you just put your red, white, blue card away.
You also, if you have yourself and spouse, you all each get your own card as well. You're not gonna have a card with both names on it, you each get your own card.
Medicare, that you hold into the Medicare Advantage, right?
Exactly.
Nope, you just use the Advantage card, save the Medicare card in the same place.
Because that card incorporates the A and B, the red, white, blue card into it. Yes.
Sure, how to ask this question, but, we have the Excel, classic blue for decades, many of us. And now we're looking at these Medicare Advantage plans, whose, components have been negotiated and put in and all of that. Are those stable? Are those going to change? Are they going to change as a result of Medicare changes? I mean, is there stability there that we have experienced decades that we've had the classic group?
Good question. So the question is, can the plan change? And the answer is no. These are custom filed plans specifically for the BTD consortium, and the Humana plan that will not change unless we request they be changed. So you can assure that these plans won't change.
Yeah, at the last meeting, it was talked about that the district would really like to see us try this for a year. And if we're not happy, if it doesn't work for us, yeah, that's it.
That's me. You want to transition?
But my concern is what if our current plan with Medicare and Classic Blue won't let us move back to what we had before.
We will let you go back, so we would enroll you, so they can't say no. We purchase the insurance for you as the district. So what will happen is, in a year's time, we'll send a letter back to you in a year's time and say, well, let me go through this, and then I'll talk to that piece as well. Is that okay? So I can go through the whole process for everybody, then we'll answer everybody's questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, my
Okay.
concern was just if they don't offer that plan, the class.
Oh, it's the same, the current teachers are still on that plan. So that plan is not going away. So, and it's still offered within the consortium. So it'll still be there if you choose to go back. Yeah. So that's a quick answer. No, thank you, good question. So, the topic came up, what are the next steps? So we would like because of those costs explained at the beginning, for family plans, we're looking at about an average savings of $22,000 a year per retiree that's on a family plan. So because of those savings, those are the key pieces that are making it very challenging for the district to sustain this. We want to be able to sustain this insurance for you long term, not just for the retirees now, but the future retirees and our current teachers as well, and all employees. So in order to be able to do that, we're looking at this model. And so we were working with the CFTA, we met with them yesterday. Actually, their representation, their lawyer through NICET has actually weighed in as well. And we created an agreement that we're working through with them and hoping to have that in place in the near future to allow this option, the Excellus BTD option, which would be great for you. Currently, it's not in the contract. We have to offer that, so we're planning that our intent is to offer it to you. So we're planning that will happen. And we're under a tentative agreement right now. So the goal is that each retiree would choose or select one of the two advantage plans to try at least for a year. Because of the importance of at least, for that amount of savings and to make it sustainable, we're asking that everybody try it for at least for 1 year. Each retiree, you're going to basically just get a letter. We're working on this now. We're going to meet and kind of iron out the specifics of this. I get that feedback from the mic and it drives me crazy every time I try to say that word. But our intent is to just send you a letter, and it's going to say, would you like to try the Excellus Advantage plan or the Humana Advantage plan? So you get to choose. You literally check a box. We will enroll you. We'll take care of all that for you. The only difference that you're going to see, the only transition you should experience is a new car. So as we check in, like I said, I had some experiences with Maine Enroll, but we've also checked in with Windsor, with Harpersville. So there's some other districts I've talked to. They've seen no disruption or no interruption in service or any issues with doctors or coverages or medicine. So really that should be it should be that simple for you to get started. So around we're thinking around end of May, beginning of June, you should get a letter to choose. If you don't choose, if we don't get the letter back, we're going to, our intent is to put you into the Excellus Advantage plan. And then for 1 year, you would try that out. During that year, there was that 2% that came up, and we said, well, yeah, we can usually call, we can solve that issue usually with a phone call or just a conversation with the doctor, usually around billing, the wording of the paperwork that's filled out. So but what if it's not? So we have in place, we are going to guarantee through the district, we will cover any expense that you incur over $20. So if you do get a bill that you think should have been covered, just call us, we'll check on it for you, and if it should have been covered, we'll pay it for you. So there is no risk for you, the retiree, to try this. And then also,
Call you or call Brown and Brown?
oh, we would be either or, whatever is easier for you. If you wanna call me and yell at me, you can call me, or if you wanna call Brown and Brown, but we'll be in conjunction with each other. So I'm sure if they get a request, they're gonna call us and notify us because we're collecting data on that. And it's important for us to get feedback on that. Or if you call me, the next thing I'm gonna do is call Brown and Brown and say, hey, is this supposed to be covered, and why isn't it covered if it's supposed to be covered, right? So that's what we're trying to iron out on the back end, if you call us with something like that. But we don't anticipate that. We've had retirees that have been on this plan. We've had that guarantee in place now for a number of years, and we've had no claims to this point. So there's been 0 claims to this point. Yes, sir.
Well, we have a situation, like I said, about a personal situation. Experimental drugs. It seems Medicare didn't approve it, but it's almost did.
Good. Yes, I'm aware of it. Actually, David briefed me on that. Yep.
That is, one thing could be $50,000. Reserve $50,000 is totally dead. As we get older, a lot of experiments. All experimental.
Yeah, if they would have been covered by your, yeah. Yeah.
You don't know, but recommend.
Right.
Next month.
Well, we have both insurances, so we can check that for you. So we can verify that.
No, so saying the doctor's going to recommend something. That wasn't approved, therefore you may not cover it. That's your out, so that's not right. Experimental drugs should be covered up insurance. So, New York City, they would cover experimental drugs. They could definitely say this policy is not in place. Therefore, we can help with that. Otherwise, you're going to bankrupt some people.
Is there
I think you probably check the Excellus, and see
Yeah.
if it was covered on the Excellus Classic Blue plan, and if it would have been covered on the Classic Blue plan, then.
I'm saying that it hasn't been recommended.
So like in 6 months down the road, there's new experimental drugs. And it would have been approved under the process.
I have 3 examples of ones that have been approved. We don't know what's happening.
right? Gotcha. So our answer is I'm not saying we'll cover any bill that you get. We're saying that we would cover any bill that your current insurance, if it would be covered to your current insurance, and you feel that it's not being covered under the insurance that you're moving to, then we would cover that. But we're guaranteeing that if the insurance that you have now would have covered it, we would cover it. So you would say we're guaranteeing the same coverage. So if it wouldn't cover, if the insurance now wouldn't cover it, then we wouldn't cover it. That would be the difference. So you wouldn't be any better or worse off in that situation. Yeah, the question is with certain, and correct me if I'm wrong, with certain experimental drugs that go through the approval process, there's a concern that with moving to the new insurance plan that they would not be covered if they are covered under the current Excellus plan. So
if I'm understanding this correctly, if you're in treatment right now, then you're okay. Because I would say to you, someone would say, I'm getting ABC right now, so, However, if something comes up, I can't say to my doctor, I no longer have this insurance, but could you call them and see if they would have covered it?
Yeah, you wouldn't do that. We would do that. You would get the, if you received the bill and you just think, geez, I think that would have been covered under the under insurance, you would call me or call Brown and Brown and we would check that for you and see, and if it would be, we would cover it.
Sometimes it's not that simple, because although I hardly ever hear the word insurance when going to the doctor, there are situations where the doctor does work with the company.
Mhm.
So it's a process, it's not always black and white, so that could be pretty complicated, if that makes sense. It's not always black and white. I have seen the doctor call and Excel and working it out with them, and then getting it through. So the doctor would never do it if I didn't have that company. You know, that's a particular situation where you wouldn't know. I can't say to the doctor, call them even though I don't have it, and work it out with them even though I don't have it. That's complicated. Makes sense?
Yeah, makes sense. So I know we're, you know, it's tough to talk in hypotheticals, but if there is an experimental drug in 6 months that somebody wants to take, it would go through the same process with your doctor reaching out to Humana or Excellus to get that approved that they do today. If they did not cover it, to Tom's point, we could go back to Excellus and say, would you have covered this under the commercial plan, under the plan you're in today?
Again, sometimes that does take a lot of conversation. I've seen.
It does, it does.
But it currently does, under your current insurance, that if with an experimental drug, it would be the same conversations as what we're saying.
The other thing is, I would suggest a point of contact, so, you know, a person, somebody that takes care of, the, phone call if there is this kind of issue. Not,
Yeah, we're just giving you options, but your point of contact should be, again, Brown and Brown is your insurance agent. So that's who we would encourage you to call. But I would say if you're more comfortable calling the district, please do that. If you know, but that's who we would like you to call. They're here to advocate for you. So, yes, sir.
You mentioned 1 year trial.
Mhm.
This lady was saying, you're going to send a letter on 1 year trial.
Mhm.
But you also said you come back anytime.
Yes. So yeah. So here, not for after a year. So we're asking you to try it for 1 year. So end of May, beginning of June, you're going to receive a letter. I needed to finish going through my process. There's really good questions. So you're going to get a letter to choose one of the 2 advantage plans to try for a year. We'll enroll you, you get your new card, you're going to try that for a year. Around, what we figure out for the timing, somewhere around the March, April timeline, you're going to receive another letter from us next year to kind of check in and see how it's going. And you're going to have 2 options on that one. Would you like to stay? And in that case, we would keep you enrolled in that. And we will be sending retirees that stay $1,000. And then if you do decide to go back, we're just asking, it's not required, but for our data collection piece, if you're requesting to go back, we're asking that you just tell us why, what would be the reason? Because we want, if there is something, even with all the audits and all the pieces, if there's something wrong with this insurance, we want to know what it is so we can fix it.
Well, in connection with that, so many of the other schools have gone with the advantage plans, all the ones that Jack listed out and so forth. And I wondered if they had the option to go back. And if they did, were they leaving a program like we have? Or did they have some other program that they went to that maybe wasn't quite as good as what we have right now?
The retirees that I talked to that were like Chenango and the other, in the other districts, they were moved to the Humana plan that we offer, that same plan. And they did not get any of the other incentives that we're offering, the ones that I talked to from the other districts, they were just moved. But the ones that I talked to, every retiree that I talked to that had moved to an advantage plan is very happy with that.
When you were at Chenango as a teacher?
I was a teacher and an administrator. But as when I worked on this plan, I was an administrator, yes.
Did they have anything like what the presently they're covered with?
Exactly the same. So they had well, I had Excellus insurance, a little bit different model now, it changed, but at the time, those teachers, the retirees 65 and over, had the same Excellus insurance coverage, and they moved to the same Humana plan that is offered here.
They did that one.
About 5 years ago, so.
Then you can go back.
They didn't have the option, to be fully honest with you, but every retiree that we checked up with, I was in charge of, I was on for the administrative unit, so I was working on bargaining with them, so I had received no complaints, so I was, I kind of helped negotiate that piece for the administrators to move them to that plan, so that would help with that transition, so, and there was no negative experience with that change. Yes, sir.
I'm sure that they should, that was July, because I read in our legislature. That's it.
Yeah, we have special enrollment dates. Yeah. Yes, sir. For this period, for this 1 year, we have specialized enrollment dates. Yeah, it is still a little different for us. So, yeah, like I said, this is a specialized plan built for us through the consortium to make sure that it has all the features. So, yeah. So, and just wanted to reiterate the last bullet I had here at the bottom is, working with the current teachers union, but also in coordination with some of the retirees and getting feedback. We've worked with NICET representation, and they have reviewed this agreement and they have agreed that there is no financial or long-term risk to any of our retirees with this situation. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate that. Yes, ma'am.
I'm in a weird situation because I'm not 65.
Okay.
I will be next year when you guys all have to make a decision. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? Because we can retire at 55.
Mhm.
What are we talking about between the 55 and 65?
You would keep your insurance as it is now until you turn 65. So,
Yeah, so Chris Wilkinson.
Sorry,
I introduced myself the last time. If you guys remember Steve Beninati, I'm the new Steve Beninati for this. So we did have that question come up. We did have that question come up with the CFPA. What happens if someone in the next year turns 65 or becomes Medicare eligible? They will have the choice that because of the fact that the birthday could happen in May, right? So that when we couldn't accommodate every single circumstances when someone's birthday might have been. So they will, if age 65, they will have the option to enroll in one of the plans. But as far as the MOA that we're talking about developing, it wouldn't apply to them of having to switch because they would have the option to switch back and it could only be a matter of a couple months. But they'd still be eligible for the $1,000 if they stuck with it the following year.
right. Yep. Yeah. So he still could experience the benefits to some point, yeah. So you can still take advantage of those advantages in the savings as well. Was there any questions for me about the transition process? Yes, ma'am.
So as of now, we will not have a choice to stay with what we have. Our only choices will be one of these two advantages.
Yeah, our intent is, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
If we don't choose one of these, you will be putting us in the Excellus Medicare.
That is our intent, yes. And then after a year, if you would like to move back, you can move back. But we're asking for that savings and to be able to make this sustainable long term, we're asking you to at least try it for 1 year. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Sure, the Humana plan you're talking about in one on the first plan, it's the same plan.
Same plan, yes, sir. Yeah. So you're on Humana now? Yeah. Any issues, any problems? Yeah. Yeah, good.
So you're saying no disruptions of service with doctors, but now I go into the doctor's office and I say, I have a new card. I have to obviously give them my new card. And
I have a new card every year for my present insurance, so that when they give me the new card, they just scan it and hand it back to me, and
well, but this is a different plan. This is an advantage plan, I suppose.
we went through, full disclosure, I'm on the main annual insurance for my wife right now. So we did go through a transition of a change in service that wouldn't apply to you. It's for current employees, but it went to like a higher deductible type plan, but still would excel us. And so that did change our coverage, and it was a different plan. And same thing, I had got a new card, I went in, they scanned the card, and that's all. They scanned it on their scanner, and that's all I got to do. So that was literally the difference in the change for me. I expect the same experience rate for this.
Yeah, so as of July 1st, when you go in to see your doctor or pick up a prescription, you're gonna wanna use that same card.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that the retired will have to do, is to use your new card that you'll get in the mail mid-June, mid to late June.
And it'll be just one card now, so no multiple cards to keep track of. You will get a card, you'll get a Medicare card, because you always get a Medicare card, right? But you don't have to use it for anything, you just put it away, put it in your dresser, and put it away, so. Yes, sir, did you have a question?
Question for Jack. Does Brown and Brown represent any other school districts?
We do, about 30.
Yeah, 30 school districts.
Yeah.
Do you have some kind of answering system for any of these things? Like what she was saying, you've got to call in, do you have a operator,
Yes.
or someplace, because it seems like you would need that.
We're busy. We have a team of about 100 people between Binghamton and Syracuse. We have an office right across from BU on Vestal Road. And then we have an office in Syracuse. We have a team of people that support Dave and myself and all of our retiree clients. Cheryl is our account executive leading that team. There's Persephone, and there's a few other gals that are under Cheryl that help support everybody, field calls on a daily basis, respond to emails, that type of stuff. So
I'll be honest, once the retirees enroll in the Excel list of the Humana plan, we hardly hear from them because there's nothing to talk to us about. But certainly we'd be there if you didn't have an issue, but we're fielding a lot of calls now, obviously, because you're nervous with changing doctors. People typically have to do, but we're checking your doctors and your prescriptions. We hear from people more now than when they enroll, because it's such a smooth process that we don't really hear. We will be here.
If they have a dedicated call
I have
center.
your number, so
I was just
Yes, you have, it's on the website,
Yep.
but you have it too, yeah.
Yep, and on the Chenango Forks website, our contact information is listed, and we also have handouts up here. Mr. Casey, you can grab it.
Saying I should have brought my reading glasses. Hopefully I take that in right. There we go. So if you go to our website, the Chenango Forks website, we have a brand new one. We're very excited about it. We're also very proud of our students and the musical this last weekend was fantastic. If you got to see it. If you hit the menu button under staff, we have staff links, and then right underneath that, they have retiree information. If you click on that, you'll see, here's our town hall recordings. And also all of this information that we spoke of. So all the charts that we handed out to you, the frequently asked questions, all the information to get a hold of Brown and Brown, all available right here for you, labeled for you. Just click on the link and it'll take you to that. So here's Brown and Brown contact sheet to answer your question. So there's your Brown and Brown contact sheet. It'll take a second probably to come up because it's, oh, there it is. No, wow, it was faster than I thought. So there's all the numbers, the people you can call, all their emails, if you'd rather email them, all the people that we mentioned or that are here today. And like I said, they're here to support you.
They emailed us, they got it the next day.
So we have these contacts here. Yep. Can help with any of your questions. Yes, sir. Yes, next year. So this would be an MOU,
So we don't have to.
Yeah. Yep. So it is, yeah, that is part of the addendum. There's two parts to what we're negotiating with them. And the first part is to keep these as options for you. So,
I would make a letter when you come around. You choose, tell us if we're not exactly what we're doing. So,
oh, right. Yeah.
next year.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to go through any negotiations, right?
Well, next year.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. You want to be, the question is, I think the question is, correct me if I'm wrong, is once this is set, we want to make sure that we don't have to go through this again. I mean, I can't guarantee 10 or 15 years down the road, but this is our intent. We don't anticipate, we did a lot of research. Brown and Brown was very helpful with this. Cheryl and Jack were fantastic. And this is a specifically, like I said, created insurance to supplement what we currently have. So this is built for us, so I don't anticipate anything. I mean, if something came out that was better, we might want to offer it to you as an option, but the answer is no. Not our intent to change again. Yes.
That part about covering, if we have lesser, you would cover it, is that, how long is that for? How long is that for, that you will pay for what you would have gotten?
That is covered under a previous MOU until 20.
So next year, unlimited, and then we still have the 50,000 that was written into the MOA in May of 2020, and that may be an issue of discussion for, depending on, we're kind of sticking our neck out, just as you guys are, as far as making sure we cover any of the differences, and if we're looking like things are good, that might be something that we negotiate, but it wouldn't affect what the options.
The contract, it says 2025.
Yep, 2025, yeah.
First, you suggested maybe we should go by our thing more.
Yeah, so that, we would certainly be looking at, that's part of the negotiation. Yeah, so that would be part of our negotiations, kind of what you spoke to before, when we negotiate the teachers to put it right into the contract. We would add that in the contract at that time. Yep.
I just happen to think the Guardian dental insurance that still follows the same time.
Yeah, that's, yeah. Yeah. I'm on that, it's a clear one, yeah. Yeah, so unfortunately, my in-laws are dentists, so I hear all the time how terrible my insurance, our dental insurance is, yes. That doesn't have anything to do with you guys, we're not making you look bad. But I'm not on your insurance, so.
We do manage the dental plan, but we moved the Guardian from an old LBS plan that was terrible.
It no longer exists.
And no longer exists. And when we moved you over to Guardian, we matched those benefits exactly so the cost wouldn't go up. So, yes, to answer your.
We realize there's better insurance out there. It's also much more expensive. Yes, sir.
So is there a plan right now for that to change?
You'll get a letter around the end of May, beginning of June. We'll ask you, would you like to move to the Excelis advanced plan or not?
Tell to change. Well, I will have to change.
Yes,
I will have to change.
that is our intent, yeah. So
When would that be that I would have to change?
because of the cost, so,
No, but why would that be for me? It's your cost, why would it have to be that I have to change?
well, in order for this, to make this sustainable, so that we can continue to keep offering insurance down the road, we need to make it where it's cost
So if
effective.
I don't change, you can't offer insurance anymore?
I'm not saying for next year, but we're approaching a point where with the data points that I showed you at the beginning of the presentation, where the insurance is costing, a family insurance policy is costing more than the beginning salaries to employ people. So we're making decisions already. So in the long future, this is not a sustainable plan, is what I'm saying. So we have to make a change because our current budget would not support us being able to continue in this model long down the road. So we're trying to we're thinking in the future. Does So what I'm saying is, we're making choices, to give you an example of where we're moving, we're making choices to not employ or hire positions because the insurance that they would be able to get is more expensive than their salary, the starting salary. Yes,
It's on through all that.
right, yeah,
Well, I've been
Right.
and stuff.
Right.
Getting this,
yeah,
just came back to town a couple weeks.
gotcha.
I missed a lot, somebody said that had to change. I don't know if it has something to do with negotiating, the teachers' negotiation, but nobody ever negotiated for me to have this agreement with the Board of Education. Nobody ever negotiated, I did that myself. I
Gotcha.
opted to take an early retirement, so they could hire people. They only wanted to hire 2, but they probably had to hire 3 that would take my place. And save school district a lot of money at that time. And it was not negotiated at any, I was on a negotiating team at that time. What happened for me was not negotiated, it was a deal between me and the Board of Education at Chenango Court School that as long as I live, my wife and I would be covered under this program. Now, is that something that was not recognizable by the school district?
Well, you have to look at that. If you have a different agreement that's outside of the CFTA contract, then if you brought that to us, we could review that.
The early
Yeah.
retirement thing.
Yeah.
I took the early retirement, gave up teaching for years,
Mhm.
and I took the deal that they gave me at that time, along with a few other people. And I've been using this program right here. My wife and I have had medical expenses like you can't believe. I can show you some scars on my body if you don't believe me. And I don't want to change, frankly.
I understand.
I haven't seen anything here to make me want to change.
Well, I understand that, and I think that the couple things that I would suggest for you is, the one thing would be to give these guys a call, and they can pull your medical bills and your medical history, and they can walk through for you and actually show you where the benefits would be in these plans, where you may not, you're happy with what you have, but there might be even some benefits that would benefit you even more. So I would suggest that, and then I would also say, if you have a special agreement that you're retired under that you have, that you would like to present to us, that might change things for your individual situation, we'd be happy to take a look at that. So thank you. Yes, ma'am.
So the last time you spoke about retirees not really using the insurance so much, and the current teachers really using the devil out of it, and really costing you a lot of money. What is the plan for helping the teachers that are currently working to not be spending so much on insurance so that you can lower the cost?
That's a great question. We're presently doing education meetings with all the current groups, not just the teachers, all the current groups, to educate them on the consortium and how it works. And then we are also looking at different models. I mentioned Enrollment as a model before, just because that's my past experience. They moved to a different model that's less expensive. And there are other programs, types of insurance that are still within the consortium that actually reward current employees for being better consumers of their insurance, monetarily reward them. So, and that's what our goal is to try to keep the same level of coverage and protection, but also incentivize them for being better consumers of their insurance. So those are programs that we're looking at them for them right now. Yes, ma'am.
Getting back to the question of what your contract was that you retired under.
Yes.
There's numerous cases of retirees that have been sent letters that were not part of the CFTA negotiations.
Okay.
So are you suggesting that those people need to provide information to you as to the contracts that you type?
No, what I was saying is, if there was something, if you were had a special agreement, a separate contract with the district that I wouldn't be aware of, that specifically referenced, that went outside of or separated you from the CFTA contract, and specifically talks about insurance that has different insurance information, we would want to take a look at that. That's all, that's what I'm saying, so, yeah. I don't know what that means, because I'd have to look at the contract first. Good question. Yes?
As something maybe helpful or interesting, if the board adopted a formal resolution, they went through this, and the board adopted a resolution that you agree to change, I guess, but no retiree will be harmed by this new insurance plan, and a retiree that will be made whole. I mean, that was kind of some of the language, meaning the board officially passed something that if you have less than, we'll make it right.
Yeah, and that's really going back to that agreement. That's those two pieces about the financial restitution and the opportunity to move back if you just had a bad experience.
Right.
Those two things, working with NICET, that's what they interpret that as. So essentially, the wording's a little bit different, but that's exactly what we're promising. So thank you for bringing that. What's that?
That became legal when the board.
When the board adopts it, yes. So they haven't adopted it yet, but when they do adopt it,
And I
yes.
think I mentioned before, they also did something with travel around the country as part of,
Okay.
they added something.
Yeah, we'd have to look at that piece. So I know we're exploring that. Yep.
I believe that online to look at what different it is.
Yeah, I will definitely take a look. I wasn't aware, so yeah, thank you.
Actually, Chris Corlett was the NICET rep for the CFTA, is the Ithaca NICET rep as well too, so he shared some of his experience there. Slightly different contracts issue there than it is here, but I've had several conversations with him about the Ithaca process. That's originally where we came up with the opt-out thing that we tried 2 years ago and then got scrapped, where we had to sign off on every single thing. That actually came from what Ithaca did, and then we ended up scrapping it because it was a burdensome process and it was late in the game and all of that other stuff, COVID.
Okay. I'm going to turn things back over to Jack if there's any other coverage questions. Or actually, what we can do is we really kind of reached the end of our time. I'm gonna shut down here. But if you have individual questions for either myself, Jack, Cheryl, or Chris Wilkinson, we're happy to stay around and talk to you individually. And again, I just want to encourage you, if you haven't already, call, made an appointment or just a conversation, made an appointment to have a conversation on the phone with Brown & Brown. We encourage you to do that. Like Jack said, we've already had dozens of retirees that have contacted them to a positive result. So that would be a great idea. And if you have any other questions or concerns, you are also still very welcome to call the district, and I'm happy to talk to you as well. So thank you very much for your time coming out today. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.